And just hello, everybody. This is Julie Nelson Richwich, artisan botanical perfumer, astrologer, and amazing woman. And I'm here today to talk with Elizabeth again. We've been doing a few chats, and I'm really excited. Because we're going to be talking about her book, and she's going to read some excerpts from it. And I love your hair, how you've done it, and I love your
Thank
bee.
you. My
Which
bee, it'll probably fall out. It's not pinned in, so if it falls out, but still.
Oh, that's okay. Try not to move too much, which gives you a clue.
That's right.
The bee gives you a clue of what we're going to be talking about, or what Elizabeth is going to share with us. But first, I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then perhaps you can start reading, and then read what you want, and then we can have a chat about it.
Well, thank you so much, Julie. Thank you for having me and for giving me the opportunity to speak about something that is really close to my heart. So the background kind of gives away that I am by trade an aromatherapist, a clinical aromatherapist with this year 30 years professional experience, and I am the UK director of the National Association of Holistic Aromatherapists. Actually, I don't do that much clinical practice. What I do is research, and I like to take the latest clinical evidence from the laboratories and weave it with the most ancient memories we've got in history of a particular plant. And back in 2018, I became intrigued by the effects that the lemon balm plant were having on me. As I walked past, at the time I was doing the first professional summit for aromatherapists, the first summit for professional aromatherapists, the Beyond the Essential Oil Recipe Summit. And it was a fantastic time, but I was really quite stressed. And I would go past the lemon balm and I would be able to smell it. And the first thing that really came across my brain was, how can a plant that smells so strong have so little essential oil? So I know that because I'm full of facts, that the yield of Melissea essential oil, we call it Melissea, even though it's lemon balm, because it's Melissea officinalis is the Latin name.
Yeah.
The yield of Melissea essential oil is 0.003%, which is absolutely minuscule.
Yeah.
And I was just fascinated by that. So I thought, right, I'm going to really look into this plant. And normally when I look into a plant, we're looking probably about 6 months, 9 months work. But with spoilers, I will tell you that this book eventually turned into 2 books and took 4 years to do, mainly because when I went to the medieval herbals, I found this strange fact that kept coming up and up and up. So Melissea, the word, is the ancient Greek word for bee. And all of these herbals said the same thing. The Melissea were the priestesses of the ancient Greek goddess Demeter. And I was like, what's that mean? What were they? What were their function? What were they for? And over time, I got absolutely drawn into their world. Before that, I had no interest in bees whatsoever, to be honest. I like the odd bumblebee, but eventually the pollinators drew me in. So if I read you the beginning of the journey, so this is chapter 1. It comes quite a long way into the book because of all of the endorsements and prologues that I have.
Beautiful.
But chapter 1 is called the beginning of the journey.
I love the cover.
Oh, thank you. So my 14-year-old son designed that. And he said, I sat for ages looking and look. He didn't do the actual technical work. Yeah, I sat for ages staring at the computer. And then he said, this is what we should do. And I went, okay. And I sent that to the publishers and they just did it immaculately. I love it.
Beautiful.
So it says,
more special.
read, the Melissea had been ancient Greek priestesses who had served Demeter, and perhaps other goddesses too. Listed in all herbal texts, their name appears, but nothing more. I wanted to find them. Who were they? What were they for? And what was their association with lemon balm? And why had they disappeared? I'd sit in the garden, surrounded by herbs, my hands in her leaves, enjoying her company and lovely scent. I sat for days, willing her to speak. But she wouldn't. She had nothing she thought I was ready to hear. I persisted day after day, insisted I wanted to know. Then one afternoon she whispered, "Change your breath." A noise in my head, a sneaky utterance, nothing more. Like a glimpse at the corner of my eye, but no, definitely. I heard her speak, so I did. I changed my breath. Immediately, I knew I'd done it wrong. I tried different breathing patterns until, oddly, I felt myself disappear. Sliding out of this reality, I found a place that was new in my mind, a dark and intimate space. I knew it, though, because I had been there before, in those moments of oblivion before orgasm, and the blackness of transition before my babies were born. In that feminine space, the most sensual and arcane seemed reasonable, locked away in the darkness of the womb. And then a train sped by, interrupted my trance, and the moment was gone. Feeling robbed and bereft, try as I might, I could not return to the space. So I went inside and made some tea. The next day, scared of being outside by a dark cloud signalling rain, my calculations revealed the moon to be at her fullest in just 2 days' time. My usual route to intuition rose in her lunar majesty on a warm, clear and balmy night. Sitting amongst the herbs didn't feel like work at all. The hyssop, not yet flowered, smelled sensuous and bitter. The chamomile, just starting to peep through. Roses and lavenders held the fascination of the late evening bees, so when I stroked lemon balm again, no insects bothered me there. I breathed, carefully, deeply, shallowly, quickly, counted, nothing happened. But as I tried, I heard a voice again, but this time, though, not just one, a whole chorus of chanting to help my breathing along. Witnessed, we witnessed, we witnessed, we witnessed, we witnessed. The chant carried on, and as my breathing fell into line, long breath in, 2 short ones out. Long breath in, 2 short ones out. And as I got the rhythm, the chant went faster, so did my breathing, until I was back there, in the womb space of my mind. So there I was, in a cave of warmth and secrecy, wrapped by the rawness of the place, enthralled by the mysterious and empty centre of my being, with everything seemed sacred and entirely possible. I had just one question. What the bloody hell do we do here?
I love.
And the story begins of trying to work out what on earth am I supposed to do now?
I love it. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. So we're going to have to do more of that, not on another call. And that, I loved it. I was really getting in there. I was like, yeah.
Well, that's nice feedback, Julie. Thank you.
It's really good. I was telling Elizabeth the other week that she's got me so intrigued by Melissea, the bee priestesses, that I was looking for books. And the only book that came up that I could find was Elizabeth's book on Google. And it's, of course, not coming out until the end of September, is it, Elizabeth?
September 29th.
Yes, that's my dad's birthday.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he's not here anymore, but yeah, 29th. Libra.
Yeah.
It's a Libran book. How beautiful. The
Yeah, it is a
birthing
Libran
event.
book. And actually, funnily enough, the whole challenge, there was kind of three main challenges that I faced. The first one was these priestesses were priestesses who were in charge of secrets. And as the secret healer, I have a really complex relationship with secrets. And so this dichotomy of what do I write, what do I keep, was really difficult and made me quite poorly, to be honest. So that was the first one. The second one was that there was all these voices. I had three voices that were speaking through me. So the priestesses who were the oracles at Delphi, they were also Melissea Delphis. They were poets. They gave their oracles in poetry, in hexameter verse. And whenever I clicked into knowing what they were saying, that went down in lyrical verse. And then also, because the book started being about Melissa Officinalis, I had this scientific voice and historical voice, and the four voices didn't meld. And so this whole thing of balance of, right, what goes where, who wants to hear what, how do I keep all of these people entertained with these in this balance, was really, really difficult. So it is really fantastic how it has come out as being a Libran book, because it was one of the main energies of it. Yeah.
So you said it ended up becoming two books. So is it two books in one, or you've got two separate books?
There are two separate books. So the first one came out last year, and in actual fact, last year, it was Amazon category #1 bestseller for aromatherapy. And that is about the lemon balm plant. The book, the research with so much about, it's such a researched plant, and I'll explain why in a minute. Such a researched plant, and then so much research, historical research about ancient Greek, have been able to explain, well, this was what going on, and then the bee stuff. The book was actually nearly 500,000 words, and the publishers just went, no, we'll never make a penny on that. We only want half. And I was asked if I wanted to split them down, and one publisher said, oh, well, I'll do them both a year apart. And I thought, actually, okay, but why am I giving you a book that I can market perfectly well myself to my aromatherapy market? So lemon balm, the Melissa Officinalis, the essential oil of everyday miracles, I've called it, is already on sale on Amazon, and is just about the medicine. It does mention the priestesses a little bit, but it doesn't go into them as in depth as this one does. And of course, this one talks about the historical aspects, about the myths, about ancient Greece itself, but also about my meeting these Melissea, both actually in the dream world, but physical, real women who were doing this bee magic themselves, and learning from the bees and becoming bee women. And there were actual people, and it's about my story of learning to do what they did. Yeah.
I am so taken in by it. Now, I love bees. I always, when I was a little girl, I was a bit scared of them, but I always loved bumblebees, and the drone bees never used to worry me. And Mum always used to say, oh, it's a drone bee, it's okay. And they were slow, and they used to come inside. And then I used to love watching the mud wasps when I lived in the Hunter come in, and they used to build their little mud cocoons in between our logs, because we lived in a little log house. And I loved them, and different bees over here, and I know we've talked about this, and they play such an important role in our environment. And you know, over here there's a big thing about bees because they're in danger here.
Exactly right.
Yeah, and we have beautiful native bees. And then, you know, it just made me think when you were talking about the bee priestesses, and I love all of that. It's just so, it just resonated with me so much, made me also realize how important that plant is for the bees on an environmental aspect, which we haven't talked about. And yes, there's a lot of plants, but I just feel like that is something. So it's such a beautiful plant. And from my understanding, way back when I studied, I think you and I studied around the same time. Not that I'm saying you're old, of course not.
I am happily embracing the crone energy, big time. Yeah.
Well, guess what, honey? We are not crones yet, because there's a fourth phase of women now. We're in the mega stage, so it sits between mother and crone. Yes, it's very empowering. We're the unapologetic, reclaiming ourselves. That's a topic that I'm podcasting on. However, where was I? I was just coming back. Oh yes, when I studied how Melissea has, because of its very low yield of essential oil in the process of extraction, that it has, and the cost because of that it was one of the most adulterated oils.
Yes, yeah. It's adulterated with lemon verbena quite often, and actually nobody really talks about that oil, but that's one of my absolute favorite oils. I love lemon verbena, but it's nasty to your skin, and that's the thing to worry about.
Yes, I love lemon verbena as well, and I used to grow it. It's beautiful. So that's just food for thought for people to think about too. And often Melissea is sold in a diluted variety, so generally diluted in jojoba. So be mindful of that. And it is the most divine scent. And I don't find it overpowering at all. And of course, the common name lemon balm speaks to how it smells. It has this lemony scent, but not like the citrus fruit lemons. To me, it's a bit sweeter and it's got a little bit more floral to it. How do you smell it? Because everybody smells things differently.
Yeah, and well, so first of all, I'll talk to that note about adulteration. So often Melissea will be actually labeled in that way. So you can buy a Melissea type, which is the one that's been adulterated. It's not true Melissea. And for the most part, I use Melissea type. It's cheaper in terms of, because I use it a lot for emotional balance, and I'm not necessarily putting it on my skin or anything like that, then I'm more than happy to use Melissea type. It gives me access to an oil that is extremely expensive otherwise, and it means I can use loads of it. So I like that. And so if you want the unadulterated one that's supposed to be absolutely pure with no other oils added to it, then that is called true Melissea. Now, I really take, when I am treating people, which is rare, as I say, case by case. And we do have a little boy who lives very close to us, who has extraordinarily bad epilepsy. And I wanted to use Melissea on him, and instinctively I picked up the bottle, and the bottle went, no, don't use me, you need to use the proper stuff. So for him, pure was the only way to go. The true Melissea was the only way to go. But that's the only time that's ever happened. So we have to be careful sometimes not to make a situation where people go, I need that oil, I can't afford to use that oil. So you can afford to use it, just be really careful. And if you are using Melissea type, always do a skin test first if you are going to use it on the skin. I do use it on the skin.
Yeah, and dilute it. We have different labeling here to what you have. So I personally have never seen Melissea labeled here as Melissea type. So that's probably a good point to bring up for people too, depending, I'm not sure about the US, But I know that here in Australia, sometimes these things happen where our labeling can be different, and you'll get Melissa.
That's right.
Yeah, and you'll always know if it is diluted in jojoba, because it will give you the percentage and say diluted in jojoba. You won't know if it's adulterated, which is
interesting.
Yeah. So that was one of the reasons why I brought it up, because I think price is going to be the telltale sign for you. And if you've
and I think that, go on.
I was going to say, if you've got a good nose, but we're used to smelling, because I think lemon verbena is slightly different, and
it is, and in actual fact, I do think, and I think yes, and I think Melissa type is actually nicer smelling than officinalis, because, as you quite rightly say, there's almost like a sunnier element to the verbena. It's like somebody, because it's almost, if you were, I smell essential oils as musical notes, and yes. Melissa smells flat to me all of the time. It always smells flat. But if you've got the verbena in it, it's got a sort of much brighter fragrance to it.
Yes, yeah, it is. It's more sunny, isn't it? So,
and as you say, like, so actually, we should say, if it's been put into a jojoba, that's not necessary. That's not an adulteration.
No,
that's just that they're using a situation. They're using the carrier. Yeah, they're using the carrier for you to be able to use more. In terms of fragrance, do you know, I had this conversation yesterday, day before, with Anna Papajoglou, who is a tremendous aromatherapist in Greece. And she said the same as I said. She said, everywhere you get Melissa from in Greece, it will smell different. And I do think that I've had loads and loads of people send me, Melissa, what do you think? And every time I go, not the same again, not the same.
Yeah.
So it does vary, but I kind of think it's almost got like a grassy fragrance to it with lemons on top, is what I would say it smells like.
Yeah, I always smell a bit of floral in it. Not that I've bought a lot, to be honest with you, because I think Melissa can be a bit of an irritant as well. I've used it, So aerial is fine as long as you don't walk into it and get it in your eyes. But coming back to different smells from different batches, different climates, that can occur with all essential oils as well, because it may depend on the soil, the season, what the climate was like at the time. I even get down to
that's definitely true. But I do think that there are certain plants that really do it a lot. So, for example, helichrysum, that is a chameleon. From village to village, it alters tremendously. Yes. And vetiver. I mean, vetiver. The strange thing about vetiver is when you test the purity of an essential oil, one of the things that you do is a refractory index. So you shine right light through it, and you can see the angle that it moves through and how pure it is, and lots of different things. Well, if you get vetiver that is from a particular part of India where it's extremely hot, the light actually goes an opposite way through it.
I didn't know that. That's fantastic, though.
Yeah, so normally the light would shine to the right, and I remember that because my son's name is Dexter, and it's Dexter rotatory. And then but this one that is called Kuss, which is a really fine and rare one, the way it's tested is to shine the light through, and the light bends that way. Very, very odd. The way that the terroir of the land can make such huge differences.
Absolutely, I love it. It's true alchemy, and I love both. Vetiver is one of my most favorite go-tos because it really grounds and connects me. And Rooibos I absolutely love. I find that more ethereal than the common vetiver. And I have to say, just while we're talking about that, I know we started off with Melissea. Actually, the two go nice together. But I got this, I ordered 100 ml of it. I got this, no, 50 ml of it. I got this vetiver chocolate, and it's obviously where it's come from, but it has these coffee and chocolate tones, and it's so velvety that I just can't stop smelling it out of the bottle, because it just is divine. And I got that from Hermitage, and I also got I bought 100 ml of the patchouli chocolate, because they're two of my favorite earthy scents. You know, I just adore them, and I love putting them together.
Have you tried cooking with vetiver?
No, I haven't. I've had it in herbal tinctures, just a drop or two, but
I'm looking around because I've got a bag of it somewhere. Wait a minute, one sec.
Okay.
Ooh.
It just got a sparkly top. I love your
the dress.
Very perfect.
So so that is vetiver, and actually if you put small amounts of it into milk and cook it down really, really slowly, it imparts, I mean, it's so good for sleep, but then also I use it to make ice cream. It's absolutely delicious. Yeah.
Well, we do grow vetiver over here, but up north, because traditionally it was grown to, well, it's grown in India to prevent the banks from collapsing, and that's why it's such a beautiful to prevent us from collapsing. And it grows up north where it's much, much hotter, way hot. So all right, I'm going to speak to my friend who owns the Nimbin Apothecary, where I worked when I was up north. I loved it because she grows a lot of the herbs. She and they make all the herbal tinctures fresh there for you. So I'm going to see if she can get me some vetiver. Now you've got me sold just by saying that. And then, of course, recipes started.
I'm very lucky to have a friend in India. I'll say hello to Annalise because she watches most things, and she sends me the most glorious things.
Oh my gosh! Well, I'm going to see. Now, as soon as you said putting it in milk, and I'm thinking cinnamon, turmeric. You know,
exactly. You use it just like that, and also if you kind of, because milk is fat, or better cream is fat, you can add a bit of vetiver essential oil to fill out the flavor if it's but yeah, so beautiful. It's absolutely lovely to cook with.
Oh, you've sold me on that one too, being one of my absolute favorite go-to oils. Well, we will finish up here. Excuse me, but I want to just come back to Melissea for a minute, and thank you for reading that excerpt. Like, I wanted to get carried away with that. If you don't mind, I'd love for you to do another video. But we're going to, yeah, but we're going to do a podcast on it in a couple of weeks, which will come out in my second round of podcasts. But I've got to get a batch of them up and ready. So thank you. We will put your links and everything.
Yeah, so just before I go, people are fascinated by the book and by the Priestesses. I am doing online launch parties on the 29th of September, where I'll be talking lots more about different things that happened to me while I was studying the book that aren't in the book. So I'd love to, you all be welcome along, and I'll give you the link to book on.
That would be amazing. We'll put all of your links in, and Elizabeth has other books as well. She's done one on Rose as well, which Rose is just such a phenomenal oil. Maybe perhaps that's another one we can talk about and read from your book. But thank you so much, beautiful. I'm
Thank you for
loving
having me.
these chats. It's beautiful. And I think you just look perfect. You look like a priestess with your bee and your jewelry and your hair and your sparkles. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, everybody. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments below and I'll be sure to put our links. So wonderful. See you again and have a beautiful day, everybody. And you, Elizabeth, too.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye for now.